In this video, I will take us through the process of making this oversized shirt with a notched collar together with the basic flared or basic sleeve skirt, and most importantly, how to sew it professionally using a French seam. Hey so lovelies, it is good to have you here. Today I want to take us through the process of how I made this oversized shirt, a notched collar, and with the basic flared skirt using this silk fabric. So I will start off with the basic skirt pattern, then we'll modify it to the basic flared skirt. All right, so this is the fabric, and this fabric is 4 yards for both this oversized shirt and the long basic flared skirt. So I'll put this aside, then we'll draft our basic skirts. Then I'll manipulate my dart to get my basic flared skirt. So these are the measurements I'll be working with. I'm starting my measurement from here, and this will serve as the waistline all the way to the length of my skirt. So from the waistline, I will impute my hip distance. This is a high-waisted skirt. So hip distance 10 inches. The waistline, I will impute quarter waist circumference. 34 divided by 4, 8.5. I'll add 1 inch dart intake. This is the dart I'll be manipulating to get my basic flare on the bottom of this skirt. Hip circumference is 46 inches. 46 divided by 4 is 11.5. Connect my waist to my hip. Cover measurement on the hip will be brought to the hem line of the skirt. Connect all points together. So we added 1 inch as dart intake. So I'll take off this dart here. To impute my dart, I will plot half bust span 4 inches. So this is 4. Then I'll come down by 5 inches. Rule that into a straight line. Measure half inch and connect here. The next thing will be to impute this bust span on the hip line and on the hem line of the skirt. So this is what we'll be slashing and spreading to manipulate our basic skirt into a basic flared skirt. So connect it to the dart like so. So I'll go ahead, cut this out now, and we'll continue from there. This is the waistline. This bust span line will serve as my slash line. So I'll go ahead, slash it from here all the way to the end of my dart. So what we'll be doing now is I will close my dart. So having closed my dart, you realize that we have this fullness transferred to the bottom part of our skirt without even taking any guess of how much I want to add to the bottom. Tape this. With this, my waist measurement is still intact. This is 8.5. Now I will show you the fullness this has added to our skirt. This is the fullness this has added to our skirt. Can you see? So I will go ahead, measure this, and compare what we had initially with what we have here now. Quarter hip circumference was 11.5, but now we have 19.5 in total. So it has added 8 inches. So the hip line, quarter hip circumference initially was 11.5. Now we have 12.5. This has added ease of 1 inch. So if you want to reduce this fullness, this is what you will do. You will control this with your dart leg. So if you want to reduce here, all you just need to do is open back your dart and increase the dart leg from the hip distance, come up by 2 inches and reconnect it to your dart. And then you will close your dart. Can you see? You can see that the fullness has reduced. So this is one of the beauties of manipulating your dart. It gives you room to control fullness on your garment. What we have here, that hip circumference was 11.5. So now I have 11.25. Can you see? Just a little. Our waist is still 8.5 too. here with just a little ease allowance. Then I'll open it up and you will see this. Just make sure your pattern is well relaxed. Put a weight on it and measure. Now we have 16 and quarter. Just measure what you have here, and this is 4 3/4 of an inch. And this is why I said with that introduction to your waistline, it will give you the room to control fullness on the bottom part of your skirt. Doing this for both our front and our back skirts. Add my grain line. This will be cut on bias. Cutting this on bias will let it drape well on your body. If you don't cut it on bias, the fabric will not drape, it will not be fluid. Basic pattern. So let's cut this on our fabric. So this is what I have left after cutting the oversized shirt. Means we have 2 yards and 13 inches. I'll go ahead, fold this on bias, and we'll place our pattern on it. Note that we have to place this on bias because we want it to drape well on the body and it doesn't just hang there. It's a silk fabric and you can see the fluidity. So we have to place it on bias like so in a triangular form before placing our pattern on it. So I have it folded into 2, right side facing each other. So you pick one of the sides and bring it over as if you are folding a triangle. I'll fold this like so. First folded our fabric into 2, then we'll fold it into 2 again. So this way we are going to be cutting both the front and back parts of our skirt together. You cannot rush this, especially because of the nature of this fabric, but it will be easier to cut on the floor. I've had to bring this to the floor to properly explain how we're going to be folding our fabric. And like I explained, this part, the folded part, is the center front and center back. So place it like so and check if you have enough allowance for your side seam. Place this on it so that it stays in place without shifting. If you want extra fullness on the side, you can still go ahead and do that because we still have some fabric left here. All you just need to do is measure what you have here and put all of it here, or divide whatever you have into 2 and put it here. This is almost 5.5. Then fold it into 2. That's like 2.5, and add it to this side. Then our side seam allowance of 3/4, your side seam allowance. We'll connect here to the extra flare allowance we added here. So you can use your tape as your ruler if you don't have a long ruler. So this is what I'll be cutting as the side. You can lower the waist by 1/2 inch and blend it to the side. Add 1/2 inch and I'll connect it to this part. Then the side seam, 1/4 of an inch. So I'll connect the side seams together, the waist to the hip and the hip to the bottom. I want to add 1 inch allowance on the bottom. Connect here like so. If you don't want any extra fullness here, just follow this side that we already added. Include your side seam allowance and blend it into the hip. But I'll go ahead, cut this. Make sure to notch the hip area. In the center front, we are going to be notching. Let me show you what we have now. Can you see how simple this is? Crafting your pattern and closing or manipulating the dart on the waist allows you room to control the fullness you have on the bottom. This is what we will have: the waistline and the hemline of our skirt. And the final thing will be to cut the facing on the skirt. This is the waistline of our skirt that will cut out. And from the waistline, I marked 1 3/4 of an inch. They just trace it out following the shape on the waistline. 1 3/4 all around, and I cut it out. So this is the center front and the arrow showing that this goes to the top. So this is what I'll be cut. I'll cut this out so that we have a smaller fabric to work with. All right, so this is enough. Then I'll fold it into two again so that I can cut both the front and back together. Pin in place. So we just cut around this 1/2 inch on the waistline. We don't need any seam allowance on the bottom. Then we add our side seam allowance that we added on the skirt. We added 3/4 of an inch. We'll do the same thing on the side and cut out 1/2 inch on the waist. Notch here. And this is what we've got. I'll go ahead, remove this. One is for back and the other is for the front. And with these notches on the waistline, we know this is the upper part. All right, it's time to sew our skirts together. I have the front and back together. Because we are stitching this with a French seam, we'll be stitching the wrong side to the wrong side. So go ahead, pin this in place. With your notches, just get the hip line together and pin in place so that it matches together on the hemline. I'll do the same thing here. So I'll take this to the sewing machine and stitch with 1/4 of an inch, and I'll bring it back to show us how to do the French seam. All right, so I've done as I've said. This is it. I've stitched with 1/4 of an inch, but on this side, let's start from the waistline because I'll be fixing my zipper here. So I started off from my hip distance. This is the notches that I have here, and I stitch all the way to the bottom. I'll trim off this side seam until I have like 1/8 of an inch. I'll trim off both sides and we'll stitch it inside out. Right, so I've trimmed this. Can you see? I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so after trimming this, so I'll flip it inside out now. This is what we'll have on the inside of our skirt. Press it really flat and it will be easier to stitch. You see, this is flat already. I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, after pressing and you can see that it is flat, we'll bring it like so. And the reason why we trim this little is because we are going to be stitching on the wrong side, and when we are doing that, we want to be able to catch this so that it's not showing on the right side of our fabric. So we'll be stitching this down. We added 3/4 of an inch as our allowance, and we already stitched 1/4 of an inch. That means we have 1/2 inch left. So you go ahead, stitch this with 1/2 inch. So I'll go ahead, pin the other side too, leaving the part for our zipper, and I'll take this to my sewing machine now, stitch it, and I'll bring it back. All right, so I have this. I'll stitch the 1/2 inch like I said. So I'll stitch it all the way to the bottom. This is the other side. This is where we'll insert our zipper, and this all the way to the bottom. This is what we have inside, and this is the outer part of our skirt. So the next thing will be to give this a good press so that it relaxes very well. So I'll go ahead, fix my zipper on this side. I've attached my zipper, and the next thing will be to finish off the waist of our skirt. This is the facing that we cut out. I fused it with fusible interfacing so that it has some structure. I did the same thing on the zipper allowance. You know, this fabric is delicate, and for you to stitch your zipper easily, so I added interfacing on this side. So we added 3/4 of an inch. I'll stitch it on one side and I will leave the other side open. The other side that will be left open will be the side that will go to the zipper. Remember, we have one side closed and the other side open. So I'll stitch it and I'll bring it back. All right, I've stitched this like I said. So this is the waistline of my skirt. This is the part that was sewn. I will ensure that this part matches with this part, and I'll pin it all the way to this side. Then on the other side too, I'll pin it all around. I've pinned everything in place, and I'll go ahead, stitch with 1/2 inch. I've stitched the 1/2 inch all around. I'll open it up like this and top stitch here, ensuring that the seam allowances are under the facing. I'll top stitch as close as possible to this part. Then after that, I'll pin this together and stitch here and the other side and bring it back. This is what we have on the back. I have top stitched it, as you can see, and here I have done the same thing. I have stitched it like this. This was how I stitched it. I stitched here, and on the other side I did the same thing, then cut it out, and this is what I have. So this is what you have on the side. When you will open up, this is what you will have. Can you see? This is neatly finished here, and it is neatly finished here. To finally finish off this waistline, we'll weave or serge or interlock the raw edge of our facing, and after that is done, we'll grab our hemming tape, sandwich it in between the facing and the skirt, and we'll press it in place. That way we'll have it well finished. So this is what we'll have on the waistline. Can you see? This is really well made, and this is nice. So this is how to make a bandless skirt. To hem a delicate fabric like silk, fold it by 3/8 of an inch or ½ inch, then you stitch as close as possible to the folded edge like this. I've stitched this very close to the folded edge. I'll trim the excess to the bare minimum, say 1/8 of an inch. So I'll go ahead, trim off all the excess. I've trimmed it really small, so now I'll give it a good press. After that is done, I'll fold it like so. I'll stitch on the first seam allowance that I have here. Give it a thorough pressing, finish off the facing. The next class will be a detailed tutorial on how to draft the oversized shirt with a notch collar and how to sew it in a step-by-step tutorial.